I'm Yanping, this is my group mate, this is Angmeki, Chayoxin, and Quarini. Presenting the precautionary recall of Fonterra that happens on 3rd of August in 2013. This case is mainly about Fonterra announced a wide-scale recall of dairy products due to botulism-causing bacteria was found in the milk protein concentrated product that manufactured by the company. Before looking into the crisis situations, I would like to briefly talk about the company first. Fonterra is a global multinational cooperative owned by more than 10,000 New Zealand farmers. Fonterra is the merger of New Zealand Cooperative Dairy Company and Kiwi Cooperative Dairies. It is the largest company in New Zealand and also one of the leading dairy exporters. The company is accounting for dairy supply in more than 140 countries, occupying approximately 30% of the world dairy trade. The brands under Fonterra are Anchor, Alin, and Milk. All of these brands can be found in over 70 countries. This case happens on 3rd of August in 2013. Fonterra announced dairy product recall because the product was suspected has been contaminated with Clostridium botulinum, which can lead to botulism. Botulism is one of the most dangerous forms of food poisoning, which can cause paralysis. The bacteria were found during a safety test and no any consumer illness was reported. Fonterra admitted the contaminated products are 3 batches of milk protein concentrate that produced in May 2012. The milk protein concentrated is the ingredient used to make sports drink, infant formula, and protein drinks. The contamination was blamed on a dirty pipe used to move the wheel during production in Waikato. In the first press conference, head of New Zealand milk product Gary Romano admitted the potential presence of bacteria in a product was found through a safety test in Wednesday and they made it public on Saturday, but the possible quality issue was identified in March 2013, which was 5 months before they made it public. Therefore, New Zealand Prime Minister John Key questions why the company went until 3rd of August to alert authorities of the risk. Fonterra defended it took such a long time in order to carry out several of tests carefully. Fonterra announced the tainted product was sold to 8 companies and across 7 countries. The industry being affected include animal feed firms, producer of infant formula, food and beverage company, while the countries being affected besides of New Zealand are Australia, Saudi Arabia, China, Vietnam, Thailand, and Malaysia. Because of the precautionary recalls, New Zealand dollar was hitting to the month low of 76.929 US cents. Nutritious, the brands under Fonterra, recalled 67,875 cans of carry can, infant formula stage 1 and carry can goals. Not only that, around 700 tons of Danone Numex brand milk powder products were produced with the contaminated ingredients, and more than half of it already sold in the China local market. China was affected badly by this crisis as around 90% of 1.9 billion of milk product import in 2012 was all originated in New Zealand. Due to China had milk scandal in 2008, the consumer are more reliant on the foreign brands. Therefore, the dairy first multinational foods and beverage company imported most of the milk powder from New Zealand. On the next day, after Fonterra announced a product recall, China stopped import all milk powder from New Zealand for consumer safety concerns. China government also asked their domestic importers to recall any product that might contain the contaminated ingredients. Not only that, the China government claimed they would strictly examine any products from New Zealand and tightens the dairy import regulations. As compared to China, the impact of precautionary recall to Malaysia was not very serious, as there are many other infant formula brands in Malaysia. Donald Dumex Malaysia announced that none of the products tested and sold in Malaysia indicate any contaminations on 4th of August 2013. However, Donald Dumex Malaysia has still recalled limited batches of Dumex Pro, Manus Cherries, and others. The sales of Donald Dumex in Malaysia has been affected due to the product recall and distractions. Finally, on 28 August 2013, after a month, Fonterra botulism scare was verified as the false alarm. The bacteria found in the product was not botulism causing bacteria, proved by the New Zealand MPI, Minister of Primary Industry. Come to the objective part. Fonterra has mainly drawn 3 objectives to be achieved. The first objective is to rebuild the country and the company image, because the dairy industry is the key of New Zealand's economy, and the country exports more than 95% of its milk every year. The company's reputation for high-quality dairy products was shaken, as several countries banned dairy products from New Zealand after the recall announcements. As the largest dairy producer in New Zealand, Fonterra shares the country government's objective to restore the market confidence as soon as possible in order to minimize the damage to the country's economy. The second objective is to get the products back to shelf and regain the sales of dairy products. After the recall announcements of the dairy product that contains contaminated ingredients has been accounted for and pulled from the shelf. As a main material supplier of Fonterra of Donald Dumex, Fonterra has the responsibility to regain the sales of infant formula. Also, although Fonterra's brand products were not contaminated at all, but Russia, Vietnam, Thailand has banned every dairy products from Fonterra 2 days after the recall announcement. The last objective is to reinstate high quality and nutritional values of Fonterra products. This process recall is only for the product that contains the contaminated milk protein concentrated, but Russia has banned all dairy products, including cheese, butter, and other produced by Fonterra. Even Russia is not in the affected country list. This shows Russia has lost confidence to the quality of Fonterra's products. Next, readings will present of the literature reviews.
Okay, I'm reading. I'm going to talk about the lead review part. So let's start with the past crisis of Fonterra. Yeah, in 2008, Fonterra and its partner Sanlu, they involved in the milk powder contamination scandal in China. It's considered a quite serious crisis because 6,200 babies fallen ill. Most of them suffer in kidney stone, and at least 3 have died, and more than 50 suffer in serious condition. And during this crisis, Fonterra was badly criticized by the media because they failed to persuade Sanlu announce crisis, and when they're able to persuade, it's like already 6 weeks late. And because of this, they lost the customer trust and confidence, and this leads Sanlu to bankrupt. And however, Fonterra still able to survive. Why? Because they have different attitude and reactions. Yeah, in the prodromal crisis stage, which is a warning stage, means the company still able to control the crisis to prevent it becomes more serious. Yeah, during this stage, Sanlu denied and excused. They only apologize, compensate, and conduct involuntary recall when the crisis becomes serious and damage happens, which is the acute crisis stage. So, however, Fonterra still being honest, open, actively apologize, and conduct voluntary recall since the beginning of the crisis, which after they announced it. Then after crisis, they also create goodwill. They donated 8.4 million New Zealand dollar to conduct a CSR program. And then during the programs, they provide medical care, advice to pregnant women and mother of infant in China rural areas. And that helps them to recover from the danger. And these are the photos of the crisis. Yeah, those babies who suffer in the crisis, and the mother cried because the baby died. Yeah. Next. And let's move on to the theoretical part. Social media monitoring. Social media monitoring is important during crisis because it is a place that has news and where people gather for news. But the content, the information in social media might not be 100% correct because it does not undergo validation process. Yeah, so when the information is not true, not 100% true, then it will lead blogger or Facebook user to publish a false information. So when false information published, it's something like spread of the rumors, and rumors when rumors spread off, it makes the public become more panic, and crisis will become more serious. It will be more worse when the traditional media or broadcast media they quote they publish the false information without notice it. Yeah, the crisis will become more serious or even out of the control. So it is important that company need to monitor, respond in social media, and respond to the criticism immediately. And also for communication channel, scholars suggested that social media and traditional media should complement with each other, means they should work with each other as a communication channel during crisis. Why? Because social media crisis communication model stated that there are 3 types of public, which are influential social media creator, social media followers, and social media inactive. For influential social media creator, it means that those group of people who provide information for others to consume. And then social media followers are those who consume the information through social media. Then social media inactive are those who not active in social media, they only get information through offline word of mouth. Then the other reason is because some people perceive that traditional media is a more credible source to get information rather than social media. Yeah, that's why scholars suggest that both these media need to complement with each other. And this is an example of a case that use both media, metal toy crisis. They publish full page ads in newspaper and also like posted video in social media like Yahoo and then company website. So with this, they earn 75% of approve from their publics. And this is example of full-page ads. And next, official website should be the main communication channel. So, for example, like those government agency official website or company official website. Why? Because the credibility of message is higher and people are more compliant with the message, especially for those food safety crises. And for example, the Nutricia is the company that have relationship with Fonterra. Fonterra is the supplier of whey product. Yeah. So when Fonterra have a crisis, recall crisis, then Nutricia also conduct precautionary recall crisis, and they test on the product, and after the test result is out, they announce it through the Minister Primary Industry MPI, which is the government agency official website, and also post video on YouTube. So with this, they regain customer trust. Yeah, and during crisis, message is also important because it can tell the stakeholder like what they should do in a crisis to protect themselves, and also help the stakeholders to cope psychologically. So when the message is positive, then the public, the stakeholders will feel more comfortable and not that panic. And it is also important that company only allowed to speak with one voice, means consistent message. Everyone will receive the same message during the crisis. Yeah. So to achieve that, company must unify the message and their internal or external communication. So the last, which is a message should show full apology. Scholar and research shows that full apology message is the best crisis response and also gain a very high acceptance from public. Yeah. Why? Because it shows organizations taking their responsibility during crisis, and also shows they admit their fault and ask public for forgiveness. And yeah, so with this, it helps the company to build their reputation, good image. Yeah. Sometimes it may also include compensation as well. Yeah. So I will pass the next part to Wendy.
Hi, I'm Chai Yun-Sin. I will talking about the target public of Fonterra issue. The three target publics, which is the aware public, the active public, and the ignored public. The aware public for this case is the general Chinese citizens. The global recall of Fonterra raised awareness in all related countries, but especially it grabs the attention of the general Chinese citizen. The reason is because of the previous milk poison scandal happened in China. Although they are not the end user, but they are highly involved because they are familiar with the cases and concerned about the contaminated baby milk powder. Even though Russia did not import the contaminated product from Fonterra, but they are aware about the issue and they ban all cheese and butter product that produced from Fonterra. Not to forget, the farmer that supply milk and the suppliers of Fonterra also aware and consistently follow up with the Fonterra crisis. But the response is they remain calm and sit back, wait for the response from Fonterra. Next is the active public. Among all the affected countries, China respond more aggressively. As you can see, the China media, parents, government, all of the people are highly involved in the discussion of the crisis. They are sensitive towards the milk powder because of the previous case, as mentioned by my group mates, also because of the 90% of the milk powder in China actually is imported from New Zealand. So Fonterra Chief Executive Teo Spring actually went to Beijing and have a press conference, creating personal touch with the Chinese authorities and also apologized to the parents. And he also emphasized that Fonterra's main concern is the consumer safety. His action was actually praised by the China parents for being openness and taking the responsibility. However, China media criticized over Fonterra recall with negative headlines all over the news that triggered negative emotions among the Chinese parents. Eventually, China banned all the infant products from New Zealand, whereas Malaysia only recalled some of the involved products. The parents in Malaysia and China react differently, but China is more aggressive, but Malaysia is more calm. However, they are also actively involved in the discussion of the crisis in both offline and online. After the recall proved to be a false alarm, the negative response towards Fonterra immediately dropped. Next is the ignore public. Ignore public actually refers to the netizen, which is the consumer of Fonterra and the non-consumer. They are the group of public that destroy most of the image of Fonterra for being clean and also green. The evolution of the netizen from aware public to ignore public is very obvious in the initial stage, where Fonterra did not engage in the social media and they ignore this group of people, which is the online influencer, which is the blogger, and also parents who share their frustration and also dissatisfaction in social media, which is Facebook, and Weibo, which is the microblogging in China. The negative comments went viral in social media as a result because Fonterra did not respond to this group of people and they did not monitor the information flow in social media. Next, I'll be talking about the communication strategy. 3 days after Fonterra received the lab report, they immediately issued a media release telling the public about the bacteria and advised the supplier to recall all of the product. Being the first one to release the information, Fonterra is actually taking the lead as the official source of information. They also created a new page in their official website known as Fonterra Precautionary Recall, serve as a 24/7 news update for all of the related parties. All of the updates and news release documents posted in the website is available in 4 languages, which is English, Mandarin, Spanish, and Arabic, specified for the customers. Fonterra Managing Director Gary Romano actually being the first person to fronted for Fonterra after the crisis broke. He held a press conference in New Zealand emphasizing that Fonterra's primary concern is the consumer safety, and they told the public about where is the bacteria come from, which is from a dirty pipe in one of the production plant. Theo Spring head to Beijing for a media conference. He apologized to the Chinese parents, and the whole press conference went live in the Reuters website and is translated into Chinese for the Chinese authorities and consumer. However, Gary Romano resigned after making a significant mistake during a TV interview in New Zealand, where he misled the public that all of the Nutricia Carry Care products were unsafe to consume. Right after that, Fonterra actually apologized for the confusion, but we also can see from that the internal communication in Fonterra doesn't went well in the initial stage. CEO John Wilson only appeared at the 6th press conference after being criticized by the public for not showing responsibility. However, in the press conference, he did not mention anything about the investigation going on in Fonterra, but he only said that he has complete trust over Theo Spring's lead in the crisis. There's no updates from Fonterra after it is proven to be a false alarm by the Minister of Primary Industry. Fonterra did not apologize immediately, but they released an operational review report and 33 recommendations for both internal and external of the operation for Fonterra. Only after a week, John Wilson and Theo Spring went to Beijing and held an official press conference to apologize to the stakeholders. Next, I would like to pass to Elise for implementation.
This is the implementation part. To help prevent an incident that happened again, Fonterra have launched an operational review to dealing with the crisis. The operational review is established by Fonterra Chief Minister Theo Spring. During the crisis, Fonterra have implemented an immediate plan to overcome the crisis. There are 4 elements which Fonterra have focused on, which define as people, product, system, and response. Fonterra have focused on food safety, quality, and control to ensure that they are best in class. Fonterra created a new role called Group Director Food Safety and Quality to make sure the food performs in the production plant. Moreover, they have to reassure the cleanliness in the production plant and showing their top concern about the food hygiene to regain the public trust, remain the customer satisfaction, and meet the international standards. Also, Fonterra has collaboration the food safety and quality in a new agreement of the employee. He established that every employee should have the duty on the product, food safety and quality. In addition, to ensure all the quality control and testing during the manufacturing. Further improve and checking all the equipment and process to make sure that they have meet the international standard of the product safety. To engage the implementation, Fonterra has also established a testing program called Interim Reducing Cholesterol. The Director of Strategy, Mario Milan, has immediately launched the Global Food Tasting and Quality Hotline for both parties to ensure their staff and contractor to easily escalation about the risk and quality of food from time to time, as well as improve their internal communication skill. Fonterra has also conduct a particular examination about the ingredient of infant product because most of the infant products are consumed by young children. Besides that, Fonterra have also claimed that they will conduct a clear and full review with the current product standard. Also, they have identified and examined any temporary and non-standard product that produced by Fonterra New Zealand plant. Besides that, Fonterra have defined the traceability of information and communication are reliable to the area of the business. They have also conducted an immediate review to the control of the product traceability and customer complaint in the risk of management. To control the outside of Fonterra products, Fonterra have carried out a wider review of product traceability and capability. Fonterra have to ensure that they have a reliable crisis management capability while handling the crisis, as well as they have successfully to explain clearly with their communication tool for their customer, industry bonding, and government in the crisis. Next, we move on the result. After MPI proven that that was a false alarm, there has not any health risk from the consumer. Also, the China has continued import their infant product because most of the infant product from China are imported by Fonterra. Therefore, Fonterra authority will strictly check the product standard and quality. In this crisis, Fonterra has been fined nearly 300,000 New Zealand dollars for the causing of food safety spill. Besides that, Fonterra have losing up to 2 million in the weekly sales. In the evaluation part, Fonterra actually has successfully met their objective after recall the products. First, they have done a press conference in China and Malaysia. Also, the representative of Fonterra have paid a full apology to the customer about the infant power product and sport drinks. Also, he has announced that consumers have to return back their entire product and they're willing to give a full refund for the customer to gain their trust. However, Fonterra has met their loss in the sale in the crisis. Fonterra has still shown their responsibility to take care of their product. Fonterra have collaboration with MPI and DIC and 195 investigators to test the examine for their food product and quality to find out the main problem of the product. Also, Fonterra has developed 2 internal investigators into the problem and gain back the trust of the customer. Also, after it was a false alarm, Fonterra have actually gained back to its customer and slowly regained the daily sales. However, after proving there was no bacteria in the Fonterra infant product, Fonterra did not apologize and delayed response to the customer and parents after a week. Because of the WPC 18 wet protein affect some of the Fonterra product, other Fonterra products are still considered as high quality and nutrition value. In turn, the international communication are important due to the Fonterra internal communication did not manage well and caused the crisis happen. Fonterra did not admit the international carriers until MPI proven that all products are safety to consume because it's just a false alarm. Next, I will pass to my. Thank you.
Now I will talk about the evaluation on the target publics. Fonterra actually respond to the customers in China and other countries very differently. Where they pay more attention to China, having press conference and face-to-face meeting with the authorities, but other countries, include Malaysia, only receive updates through the internal communication, not face-to-face meeting. As referred to the literature review, there is a risk of spreading rumors in the social media if the company did not control well, and it will eventually damage their image. This is what exactly happened to Fonterra because they ignore the netizen. So it shows that there's a need for Fonterra to actually respond to the netizen in order to avoid the criticism to escalate. Fonterra did not show any effort to deal with this group that do not even have a social media platform to engage to the netizen. There should have at least a social media moderator to trace the message in social media to avoid unnecessary rumors to spread out. Next is the evaluation to communication strategy. According to literature review, during the crisis, message has to be consistent in and out so that it will not confuse the public and avoid internal communication crisis to happen. However, in the initial stage, it's very obvious that Fonterra do not have well communication internally, where there's a lack of alignment internally and also with the government and the Minister of Primary Industry. Although Gary Romano claimed that Fonterra had actually communicated well with the government, however, when New Zealand Prime Minister having the first press conference for this recall, he actually questioned Fonterra and asking for a reason why they actually delayed inform to the public and the authority, where Fonterra actually detected the contamination bacteria early in March. Next, Fonterra actually neglected the two-way communication with the business partner and the consumer. Fonterra is not prepared to deal with the social media and the false alarm, where they do not prepare any platform and they late respond to the false alarm, where they only apologize after a week. It is proven to be a false alarm. It failed to reach the netizen. As a result, the negative posts in the social media actually damaged the image of Fonterra, and they only engage in the one-way communication. They only serve their official website as a platform to disseminate news, but not receiving any response from the parties. Now I'd like to pass to Ping for the conclusion.
So, as the conclusions, Fonterra botulism case was proved as false alarms after a month. In dealing with the crisis, Fonterra did respond to the media within 48 hours, but is not well executed. We can see there is lack of communications between the company departments in dealing with the crisis. The information Mr. Gary Romano provided in the first press conference is insufficient, that he refused to name out which ad company been affected and has caused greater consternation for the public. Not only that, Fonterra should respond to every single public that is related to the crisis and not fail to reach any of them. Although Fonterra products have been checked by the New Zealand MPI that is not harmful to human health, but consumer negative perceptions about the company has not been absolutely clear, as the negative comments and posts in the social media has not been responded by the company. Therefore, the company's social media team should emphasize more on public opinions, respond to them, and filter the bad comments. Thank you. That's all about our topic.